Hello, ladies and gentlemen. We are doing a tactical, a GM, a stream that goes for tactical Grandmaster games. And we're going to see if you guys can have the tactical prowess of a Grandmaster, really, is what we're going to see. Don't feel bad if you don't. I sure as heck don't. I chose these games because I thought they were really, really interesting. And a lot of them are not well known. I'm not picking, like, the most famous games, but I'm picking pretty interesting games. I thought these games were incredibly, maybe not instructive, but at least interesting. So I'm just making sure all my stuff is where it's supposed to be. We're also gonna just wait and see if we get anyone joining the stream. Join in the stream. Join in the stream. Join in the stream. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Okay. I should probably post this in general as well. Alright, we're all set up, just waiting for the audience. C'est audience. Alright, so let's get started with our first game. Our first game is a game between, oh god, I'm not going to be able to pronounce this name, Jacek Tomczak and Spartak Vysočin. And this was played in 2012. And I actually, I found this game as I was doing some opening research because there was a certain line that I wasn't very happy with. And I wanted to see if the Black had any alternatives to the line I was playing. And I saw this game, which totally blew my mind. I thought it was very interesting. So, without further ado, let's take this game away. This is a French defense, and it's sort of my pet line in the French defense, which is, so we get there via a slightly strange move order. I always play this move Queen A5, which is my move in the French defense. Black here played Knight E7, which does invite Queen G4 and the poison pawn variation. But White played H4, and here Black transposed into the Queen A5 variation. Bishop D2, Queen A4. And now we are in the H4 variation of the Queen A5 variation via a slightly strange move order. So H5. Here Black played H6. Actually, it is, I should point out there is a slight difference. Normally this knight is on C6 and this knight is not developed yet. So there is some difference here. But some top players have chosen not to play H6 because White generally gets good play after H6. Hey Yago, how you doing? White generally has good positions after H6, and that's part of the reason I was looking at this game, was I didn't really like Black's position in this line. But Black had another creative solution. So H6, Knight F3 is very standard, supporting the center. Knight C6, and now Rook H4. And the problem for Black is White is now threatening to take on C5, and Black never really wants to take because that fixes White's structural issues. So the main move here is C4. But here, because Black closes the center, that leaves White free to attack. So there's all sorts of stuff with like Rook F4, and you put pressure on F7, like Knight H4, Queen F3. And Black has to be really careful in these positions. So I was looking for alternatives to c4 here, which feels like sort of white's getting everything he wants. And that led me to this game. Because in this game, he played Tomek, what's-his-face, played in a slightly different fashion. I should mention that both of these players are over 2,500. They're both grandmasters. So these are not like slouch-a-louches. And here black played knight f5. And the point is, okay, very obvious. If you go take, I take your rook. So clearly that's not playable. But after knight f5, white goes rook f4. And the rook is actually very good on f4. Because it can pressure f7. If black castles, he almost always loses. Like, castling is a no-go in this variation just because white is going to absolutely annihilate you. And here, black can still go c4 and have a vaguely normal position. But black instead goes for this very ambitious c takes d4. And the point is, black's not going to close the center. Black would like to, at some point, play on the c-file and against the white's damage structure. And he currently has enough attackers on the d4 square to sustain the pawn. So this is our first sort of interesting moment. We are viewing this from black's side, but I think white played some very interesting stuff as well. So let me ask the crowd. Let me ask a crowd, what would you play here for white, for the white player? What should white do here? Run in a circle every day. Who are you? Banned from what? 45-45? There's a couple good moves. How do you get banned from 45-45? Like, what'd you do? Oh, are you, oh God. I think I know who you are. Who was that? No, I remember who you are. You were, what was your name? I think I remember who you were. Anyway, whatever. Any other ideas for white here? I've heard c takes d4, but apparently it's too obvious. We can't play obvious moves. That would be disastrous. Resigning for white? White's position is very good here. Not very good, but white has some advantage here. White has advantage based on sort of black's gonna have some weaknesses with his king, and black is opening up the position with c takes d4. Panic offer draw. Yeah, bishop d3, that's the move. And white's point is this pawn is pinned to the queen, so white can do whatever he wants. And bishop d3 is a very annoying move, because now you're threatening to take here, and then take here, and bad things start to happen. So, okay. Here we saw b6 from black. And white could choose to take here. This is an option for white. White did not play this. The thing about these structures is that the black bishop on e6 is actually somewhat good. This happens in a lot of French structures. For example, takes bishop e6. And this is not so awful for the black player because the bishop really cements the structure here. And at some point, black might go f6. or black might go knight a5, rook c8, and this is probably roughly equal. So white just continued to develop. White played queen e2, bishop d7, and now c takes d4. And there's an interesting idea here. So the issue here for black is it's very difficult to take this, because if you take, then take queen e3, and this knight is just, he's gone too far. This lateral pin is too strong. So queen e2 prepared queen e3, which would bring pain on the d4 square. So after cd4, rook c8 was played, and now bishop b5. And white is starting to really press his advantage here. So if you noticed, the queen doesn't have very many squares to go. Not available, not available, not available, not available, not available, not available. So black's move is totally forced. Queen takes c2. Only move. I was just catching up with chat. So queen takes c2. Rook c1 makes sense, putting pressure. Queen b2. And now white found a really interesting idea. So it's white to play in this position. Let me turn it around, because white actually found a really interesting... Oh, that's not how you do that. How do you flip the board? Is it Control F? I don't even know. Knight takes c2 in the queen e3 variation. No, because the rook is protected on f4. Let me show that. The suggestion was knight takes c2. Oh, I missed that the queen was there. Or sorry, the queen was on c2. That might be true. Even here, though, I'm not so sure. For example, takes. This position is somewhat unclear. But this might be okay for black. So let me see if I can find something a little bit more conclusive, because that's a good point. Knight c2 does look like it's working there. So say knight takes, knight takes, knight takes. We'll go queen g4 instead. That's a better try. And now I'm on the g7 pawn, which is going to give you, bring you lots of pain and suffering. Because now if you go knight c2, I will take twice and take on g7, and you're in big trouble. So good point. My first variation didn't work, but this one does work. So we saw bishop b5, and now here it's white to play and find a nice little move. I'm actually going to give you guys some time to think. I'm going to go get some water, and when I come back, we'll see what ideas we have for this position. take on f5 and blunder the advantage. Take on f5 with the rook. Well, maybe you'll be surprised to know that white played rook takes f5. Which is the best move in the position. And before we go to the game continuation, let's see white's point. What is white's idea? Imagine black takes the exchange. Why did white just give away the exchange? What was his tactical idea here? Because white just gave a full exchange. He better have some idea. E6. And if I take on e6, knight e5. Knight e5, can't I take that? Aren't I winning now? I think black is winning here. Maybe not winning. No, not winning. Ha ha ha. Okay. That's not gonna work. So let me find something else for knight e5. Knight e5. Yeah, it looks pretty good. I didn't actually analyze this. What I analyzed was, instead of knight e5, I analyzed bishop takes c6. And the point is, you just can't take this because of this. And you lose everything. So, that seems reasonable. Knight e5 actually also looks good. I don't see a clear refutation to this, because the knight is now attacked 3 times. Let's see what the engine says. It says queen takes d4. That's something. It's given 0. I think it's interesting. After bishop takes, after white plays bishop takes c6, the best move here is to castle. And white has 2 pieces for a rook and 2 pawns. So it's probably about equal. So that was white's idea with rook takes f5. But what if I told you black did not play e takes f5? EF5 was not played. What did black play in this position? We're going to flip it back around. So white just took a minor piece on f5, and black said, I don't feel like taking the rook. I don't feel like taking the rook. Black played something entirely different. And this was the move where I saw this, and I was like flipping through the game really quickly, and then I saw this move, and I was like, wait, what? And I had to go back and like understand what on earth was happening. Knight takes d4 is interesting, but I'm going to slam you with this one. Same trick. So that's not working. This move, when I saw it, I was blown away. And the calculation required for this is incredibly deep. Like, so deep. Any other ideas? It's hard to come up with ideas, right? White just took a minor piece. Like, what can we do about it? Like, my list of candidates is like one move long. But then when someone plays something that's not on that list, it's sort of baffling. Black resigns. Apparently everyone's resigning. Black played the cool, calm, and collected short castle. White just took a piece, and Black went, I'm a castle. So I saw this move, and I was just like, what? And my first question was, what happens if White moves the rook away? What happens when White just moves his rook? Which was not played in the game, by the way, but this is probably the critical variation. So, say White retreats his rook, saves his rook. What was Black planning in this position? Now we have knight takes, knight takes e5, excuse me. If you go knight takes d4, then I will survive this. With knight takes. No, not with knight takes. Sorry. Give me a second. Gotta figure this one out. Here, it's sharp. This is very sharp, and I'm struggling. I'm looking at something like this. No, this is not going to work for me. This is not going to work out, because this is going to hurt. So let me find something better. Maybe knight takes d4 is equally good. That's entirely possible. That knight takes d4 is just equally good. No, this looks pretty good. Rook takes. Oh, and go rook d1. Okay, yeah. So the idea is here to block with the rook. And when you play knight takes e5, you don't allow White that option of blocking with the rook. So knight takes e5 is slightly more accurate. Knight takes d4 is not bad, but White has some advantage in that position. Whereas here, we're not giving White that opportunity to even block that with the rook. So knight takes e5. Now, if you were to take this knight, then this is problematic for you. Hello! Scooping up a rook on the back end. Yikes. I have a lot of pawns here. Well, I guess you win a piece. Maybe I did this slightly inaccurately. Or maybe I just have enough material. No, it's a rook and 2 pawns for 2 pieces. Black is doing fine here. So that doesn't really look attractive. The more... you could also... Oh, you can toss this in as well. No, sorry, that's the wrong line. I'm crazy. So that's what happens when White takes on e5 first. But White can throw this in, which changes things. So what does Black play here after Rook takes c8? Because White is eliminating the threat of taking a Rook on c1. Knight takes f3. Knight takes f3 is actually inaccurate, and we'll see why in just a second. After rook takes, the rook has suddenly become a lot safer. The rook on f4 was very unsafe. And here in this position, I think white will be okay. White can probably go here, bishop d3. And I don't see what black is doing here. Black seems to be fine. I mean, white seems to be fine, excuse me. White looks like he's up pretty much a good piece. So this is not quite what we want. If you insert knight takes f3. The rook is unsafe on f4. You don't want to draw it to a safer square. Bishop takes d7? Sorry, in what position? Oh, at the end position? Yes, great. That works as well. Yep, that would be much more logical. So knight takes f3 is not working. Yeah, we're guessing moves in GM tactical grandmaster games. What does black play here? Knight f3 is not working. Rook takes c8 is correct. Rook takes c8, reestablishing the c5. Now, you have to consider a couple things here. If white takes the knight, then this piece hangs, so we can grab. And after getting out of the way, black can take on a3. And we have a very interesting position here, because black is down a knight, but black has 3 pawns, and they're all passed, and 2 of them are connected. So I think this position is about equal. White's king is not safe. White has an extra piece, but black has clear material compensation for the piece, which means that black is doing okay here. More interesting to me is what happens if after rook takes c8, white throws in this move, bishop takes d7. Because in the now black is white is threatening if say just takes, white is really going to untangle. Maybe a move here like queen d3. And white appears to be holding on. White is securing this pawn on a3, which is an important pawn. So after bishop takes d7, what does black have here? Rook c1 check. Yikes. Only move. Clearly this is the idea. Only move. Now what? This is a really nasty combination. Like a very deep combination as well. Queen c3 check is inaccurate. After queen c3 check, I can start to skedaddle my way away. There I am, skedaddling. Queen takes f4. Seems logical. But here, it's not so convincing because, again, black has the same sort of position, a piece where he's a piece down, but black has not won the a3 pawn, and that's very important because these are not passed. Actually, here, it's going to be 2 pieces down, right? Because we're going to chop that. So that's not going to fly. And so let me find the correct variation. Back here. Look at your checks, captures, and threats. That's your hint. Checks, captures, threats. Knight d3 check. King must stay connected with the queen. King e2, only move. Now. What now? Knight takes f4 check. King must stay connected with the queen, only move. Now. Look at this beauty. This is beautiful. The geometry on this is beautiful. Knight takes g2 check. King must stay connected to the queen. Knight f4 check. Getting the knight out of dodge. King must stay connected to the queen. And here, now black does not want to trade queens because the white king is very unsafe. So black just finishes up the combination. Queen c3 check is very accurate, forces king f1. All of a sudden, there's back rank problems, and queen a3. And here we see black has 4 pawns for the piece. 4 pawns, and there's 2 connected passed pawns. Black is probably slightly to moderately better here. Because 4 pawns is a lot, white's king is unsafe, this knight is very good, and black can't possibly lose this position, I don't think. I mean, I say that, but a grandmaster will not lose this position for black. So that's everything that happens if after rook takes f5, castles, rook f4 is played. But in the game, after castles, bishop takes c6 was played. So now we got to figure another whole mess out. What does black play with this intermediate move after bishop takes c6? E5, you've lost. I see your idea. I do see your idea. Now here, I think I can get away with a sneaky move. I think I've got queen b5 here. And I think I'm going to be up material here as white because I currently have a bishop and a knight for a rook, and I don't see how you're winning anything back. So I think queen b5 is a nice move here where white will hold on to the material after ef5. That doesn't appear to work for me. Ooh. No, you're totally right. This is busted. I'm an idiot. So that doesn't work. We can try the obvious, which gets hit by this. Here, black will take this pawn. But I'm not so sure about this one, right? White takes here. And Black again has his connected passed pawns, but white has his own majority this time. And there start to be ideas like e6 opening me up. This pawn is quite weak. So this is probably playable, but I think white is better here. I think it's playable, definitely playable. I am down. It's not an exchange. It's 2 pieces for the rook, which is not quite an exchange. Oh, you were talking about that other line. Yeah, I get it. So yeah, here I think white is okay. I don't think EF5 is working there for black. So let's go back to this position. EF5, we get a position where white is probably better. These grandmasters, they're good or something. Who knew? If we're not taking the rook, what else are we doing? EF5's not working. Let's play something else. Queen takes C1 is interesting. I assume this is your idea. But this looks like a lot of material, right? Rook F4, King D2. It's dangerous. This is dangerous, but here, after Queen D3, it appears I have my life together. And I think white is winning. This is a queen for rook, which is not enough. Guys, you gotta look at all your checks, captures, threats. These are 2 captures. What other captures do we have? What other checks do we have? What other threats do we have? Yeah, Bishop D2 was very playable, I think, as well, Yago. It's a good point. Get those checks, captures, threats. What else we got? Bishop takes c6 is a great move. The game saw rook take c6. Bishop takes c6 is also good. But the game saw rook take c6. And so white traded. And here white played bishop b4. Again, I sort of asked myself, well, what happens if we save the rook? Because again, I wasn't really sure. Why can't I just save my rook? But here, black has a beautiful idea. Black is down a full piece, so black needs to prove some very significant compensation. But black has a really nice idea. What can black play here to prove compensation? Black is actually close to winning in this position. I think he is winning, actually. Bishop b5. I'll go queen d1. And what do you have here? I assume you want to sneak this queen into f1. It just doesn't quite seem to happen. The queen has a really hard time getting to the light squares. It's very possible here to play like queen takes a3 and say that, okay, I've got connected passed pawns. But I'm not sure that's enough here because you haven't won either of these pawns. So now, for instance, I can play a move like queen c2. I don't really want to allow you to come in here. And I think white is okay. White might not be better, but black has a much better idea. Ah, yes, we've hit on it. Bishop a4 is incredibly strong. And the point of bishop a4 is you're just controlling the d1 square. And this square is crucially important to white because white needs to block a check on that square. If white is unable to block a check on that square, it's like incredibly dangerous. And it's difficult for white to move. It's not easy for white to establish a defense here. For instance, if queen d3, this is giving the e2 square. There's a lot of good moves here for black. Perhaps the simplest... oh no, that doesn't quite work, sorry. I was going to say queen a1 with the idea of going bishop b5, but the bishop would be hanging with the queen no longer on the b file. So black can just go like rook c8. Now I'm threatening this check. I'm threatening ideas of like bishop c2. And white's king is just too unsafe. This rook doesn't really count as a piece right now. It's not doing anything. This knight is not really helping. So black is incredibly active. You can try and move your knight out of the way, I guess. But things just really start to fall apart here. I mean, even this is just winning. And grabbing the rook over here. So, yeah. After bishop a4, other tries, you can try going king f1, maybe. But after king f1, queen b1 check, I believe, wins. Or no, sorry, king f1, you don't even have to go queen b1 check. After king f1, I just win the queen. So, yeah, you lose. Everything loses. So that's why here, instead of saving the rook, white played bishop b4. So let's clean up this mess. Black to play. What can black do here? The end is coming. How can black finish off this combination? Rook c8, your queen's hanging. Part of the point of this move, bishop b4, is the queens are now in alignment. Queen b1 check, good. Queen d1 only move. Black inserts a little finesse here. Queen e4 check. It is totally possible to take the rook. But he wants the queen on e2, and now he takes the rook. And white takes the rook, and the dust has settled, and black, for all his troubles, black is up a pawn. But that's all you need. White looks to stir up trouble with queen a6, and let's finish the game as black here. How can black end all the trouble? How can black end the trouble? Because now, like queen takes a7, that's sort of a mess. Queen c8, that's another threat. So white has some clear activity here. We can't allow this. Queen b1 check. King d2 is played. It doesn't really matter what you do here as white. It's going to work out for black. Black checks a lot. Queen b2 check. King e3. Now, very accurate. Queen c1 check. Not allowing this king out here. And this is really annoying for black, or for white. White is forced onto a light square, and boom. Note that if the king goes here, What do I do in this position? Here, oh yeah, I have this one. And I just win everything. And so after queen c1, king e2, queen c4, takes, the position is winning for black. And black went on to convert this position. I'm not going to show the rest of the game, but black is up a clear pawn, and he is winning. He has a 3-1 majority on the queen side. Good. That was the game Jacek Tomczak versus Spartak Vysochin. Here, we're going to move on to another game. And I'm just going to show one position in this game. We're going to speed through the opening, because there's just one move in this game that's unbelievable. So this is the game Kishmatulin, D. Kishmatulin, I don't know what his first name is, versus Pavel Elyanov. Kishmatulin was white and Elyanov was black, and Elyanov lost this game as black to a lower-rated opponent. Note that Kishmatulin is 2650, so he's a strong grandmaster, but Elyanov is in the 2700s and part of the world elite. So we saw a Nimzo Indian, the Reshevsky variation. There's this interesting maneuver where the bishop is allowed to go back to f8, and then black strikes in the center. This is all normal. Black's playing with the isolated queen pawn, but he should be able to offload it. He gets play based on the IQP. This bishop is strong on e5, so white trades it off. Everyone brings all their pieces in. a5 is a nice move, breaking up the queen side, activating the a-rook. Decides to switch it up, go back to rook d8, gonna push d4. The knight is active. Both knights are active. A cool little move, stepping into a self-pin. Just because the queen doesn't really want to move. It's happy where it is on d1. White is slowly activating his pieces, but black's rooks are active. This bishop, it's not a great piece, but it also does a good job. This is a good knight. White is good knights. Position's about equal. Trade. Rook d1, queen g5. We're heading towards an endgame. Jack. So we have a major piece ending here. I'm just breezing right through all this because I want to get to the good stuff. So we get this position. And this is a major piece endgame. And if you know about major piece endgames, you know that the #1 consideration in major piece endgames is king safety. So here, neither king is particularly safe. The black king is very obviously unsafe. However, black is also threatening mate in 1 on the white king. So, this, I think, is one of the coolest moves I've ever seen. This is white to move and find a stunning tactical idea. A stunning tactical idea in this position. So, I've seen in the chat king g1 and h4 check. h4 is very interesting, right? Because h4, the point is, well, if you take it, this looks incredibly uncomfortable. Your king is sort of stuck between the pawns and the queen. Is it mate, though? Is it mate? That's always the question. Is it mate? This one might be. Check. Check. I'm not currently mating. Or finding the mate, at least. I would also like to find a way to take this rook with check. And this doesn't look terribly promising to me, this idea, because the king does start to wander its way back home. So h4 takes, check. What am I missing here? How am I going to mate this? How do I mate? Does anyone have a mate here? I can't find a mate. There might be a mate, but I can't find it. This looked best, actually. Because this looks so threatening. This has to be mate, right? But it's not. Somehow. Baffling. How can this not be mate? What about, ooh. I have an idea. What if I go king g2 in this position? No, it doesn't threaten mate. I thought I was threatening mate, but I'm not. I thought this was mate, but there's this again. And black is maybe winning. So that doesn't work. I don't think h4 check is winning. I think you clearly have a perpetual, but I can't find a mate here. As strange as that seems, it's like absurd that I don't have mate. But I don't think I do. Yeah, white has perpetual. Oh, even in the other line. Yeah, I mean it's fine. But here, black is okay. The other move mentioned was king g1, which seems absurd. But king g1 was played in the game. White just says, you want my rook? Have my rook. Not only have my rook, have it with check. Take my rook with check. All I need is my queen and these pawns, man. Your king is stuck. And I think what's so cool about this combination is it's not obvious how white is mating here. So, black said, if you're offering me your rook with check, I'm going to take it. Which is a blunder. Taking the rook is actually the losing move. Black can fight on by moving his rook, say, to here. And just eliminating this threat. And here, white can give a check, but white will eventually have to play something like rook f1. And that's interesting. But that's not what we came for. We want to know what happens if you accept the rook. So king h2. And now black played a very sensible move. Black played rook takes c6. If you don't take the pawn, it's just going to run. And so you need to take this pawn. If you're accepting the rook, you're accepting the pawn. Now, here, white repeated one move. Queen e7 check, king h6, queen f8 check, king g5. And now, white has just sacrificed a rook, and he says, yeah, I'll play a quiet move. I'm down a rook, but I'm still mating you. Queen takes f7. Yeah, I'm down a rook, but I'll play something quiet. So black is desperately trying to defend himself. Who can tell me what the threat is from white? What is white's threat if white got to move again? Queen f4 check is the threat. Queen f4 check, king h5, g4 check, king h4, queen h6 is mate. So white is threatening a mate in 3. And there's not a lot of moves that stop queen f4. If you go rook c4, I just take it, and your king is ridiculous. So that's not really an option. So black tried another option, which is rook f6, blocking the queen on the file. But now, what can white do here? What does white have in this position? F4 or H4, which one? H4, say I do this. Honestly, I think they both win. H4 and F4 probably both win. I was looking at the game move was F4 check. H4 looks just destruction as well, total killing. But yeah, F4 check was played. It's the right idea. You just give a check. And the point is, on king f5, what does white do? Oh, I've seen it. Yeah, there's queen d5, which is mate. So after f4 check, the king must leave the rook. King h6 played, and white grabs the rook. So now, not only is black's king terribly unsafe, he's not even up material anymore. So white is just winning, completely winning. Queen e2, we drive the king down, of course. And now, what would you play for white here? How does white end the game? Because if you don't end the game, I am going like e2, e1, or d2, d1. So you got to do something. So I heard queen e7 and queen g7. If you go queen e7, I can repeat, right? And you have to check me back. So here, queen g7 is much more accurate. Because now there's no king h6 move, I'm just taking this. And good luck. And so black played the only sensible move, which is h6. Continue. Yes, okay, I agree. Then Yago, that would make you a grandmaster. Because grandmasters always repeat. How do we finish the game? G4 would be a great move, but it's illegal. Very sad. Queen e5 check. King h4. What do we got? F5. That's an interesting idea. F5 is the right idea. White found a more accurate way to, Iago's way is more accurate, and the reason is, after Queen F6 and then F5, now Queen takes F5 will come with check. So just a little finesse there. And of course I'm threatening to take here with murder. Taking G3 with me. So F5, you can't allow me to take this. Or I guess I won't have G3 with me, but I'll have something with me. So again, you can't allow me to just take this. For instance, if you go like D2, take, I'll take here actually, which is just mate. No, it's not mate. But this is mate. So after F5, Black took. He doesn't have much choice. Okay, takes King H4. And White played one more move, and Black resigned. How do we end the game? I could also... Queen F4 was made as well. I don't... maiden 1, maiden 2, it's all the same. What do we have? How do we end the game? One more move, and Black resigned. Queen G6, very good. Nicely done. Who is that? Saeed? Saeed. So G3 would be very desirable, but it's not legal because of the pin. So Queen G6 is correct. And the point is, I'm going to take H6. And if you move, I'm going to play Queen G4 mate. So you can't do anything. You just lose. If you go H5, I mate this way. What else can you even do? I'm just taking on H6 with mate. So the position is lost. A really sort of unbelievable move. That shows just how important king safety is in these major piece endings. I want to show you how White sort of achieved this and what White did to even allow him to do this. So way back here, White played this funky maneuver. He traded into the major piece ending because he realizes Black's king has gone away from home. So he trades into the major piece ending and then plays queen h8. And this is a nice move because this tells the Black king, you're never going to feel safe. I've got queen f8 coming up, and it's telling the Black king that you're in trouble. I'm gonna force you to walk up the board, and that's what you always want in a major piece ending. So really incisive play from White here, forcing this Black king out in the major piece ending. That's always very desirable, and nice play. Okay, Yago. Let's see. I'll do probably one more game. I had 3 lined up. We have 3 options. We can see MVL get annihilated in a Najdorf. We can see Grischuk annihilate someone in a Sicilian Paulsen. Or we can see Evgeny Nair annihilate Mamedyarov in an Alyekin defense. Which game do we want to see? So there's 2 Sicilians, one where MVL loses as Black, one where Grischuk wins as White, and then there's an Alyekin defense where Nair beats Mamedyarov as White. Not Alyekin, and the 2 people immediately say Alyekin. It sounds like we're doing the Alyekin game. I'm sorry. That's how you spell it. Oh no, you spelled it wrong. I'm sorry, Alyekin's great nephew, but we must. So this game was between Evgeny Nair, who's a very strong grandmaster, and he beat Caruana in the FIDE knockout. So he's a really good player. I like looking at his games a lot. And he's playing against Mamedyarov, Shakhriyar Mamedyarov, who's also an incredibly strong player. And we see Alyekin's defense. And so these are sort of main lines. White chose not to play, I believe this is called the chase. And White can often end up overextended in these variations. So White played more solidly, just taking the center. Black immediately is going to break down the center. And again, White is not opting to overextend. He's happy with his 2 pawns in the center. And knight takes e5. c6, bishop e2. This is all theory. Castles, queen c7, rook e1. Both sides are playing naturally, just defending, or sorry, not defending, developing. And here, White really starts to build up a strong initiative, and White ends up with a really sort of incredible position. c4. Now that White is developed and castled, it makes a little bit more sense to take space in the center because White is more prepared to defend his center, and it's less likely to be broken down. Also, this makes more sense now that the move c6 has been committed, because a lot of times Black breaks down the Alyekin center with like d6, c5. But here, it's less attractive for Black to go like c6 and then c5. So this move makes a lot of sense. Black drops back, knight c3, everything's normal, they're playing sensible chess. Here, this position reminds me vaguely of the Scandinavian defense. It almost looks like a Scandinavian position to me because it looks sort of like this exchange has happened and White ended up with a lot of space and Black sort of has this cramped structure. It really does remind me of the Scandinavian. I like how you guys know all this stuff about the Alyekin's defense. I don't know anything about it. Yeah, I mean, I think White is just much better. I don't see why a black player would play this variation, because white just seems to have really a lot of space and black doesn't, and I like space. So bishop d3, putting the bishop on a better diagonal, of course. Rook d8, queen e2, we're continuing to develop, put our pieces on sensible squares. Knight f8, who's not playing? Well, these two guys, let's get them out. Knight g6, and I like white's next move. Let me ask, what is black's threat? I say threat loosely in this position. What is black's threat? Black's threatening h6, so we play rook a d1. So how does rook a d1 prevent h6? Oh, because you want to play bishop c1. That's interesting. So someone in the chat, who was that? C Complex said black is ready to play h6. You can no longer go bishop h4 because of the knight on g6. So he wants to play rook a d1 and bishop c1. I think black actually has a stronger threat in that position. Yeah, the stronger positional threat here is knight f4, which is forking these two pieces, and white will be forced to give up part of his bishop pair. Probably best would be to give up the dark square bishop, but white doesn't really want to do that. So white plays a really sensible move, g3. No knight f4 for you. No knight f4. b6 played. This bishop needs to do something. Black can think about going bishop b7 and c5. That's a standard idea in these sorts of positions. And now white says, hey, this knight on g6 isn't too thrilled to be on g6. So let's come knocking. Let's come party with that knight on g6. Bishop b7. Rook a d1. White has all his pieces mobilized and on great active squares. This bishop is still bad. This bishop's not great. This knight's not great. It's very limited. This rook is not playing yet. I think white's position is already just much better. Rook e8. So this game I'm going to let us do a little bit more thinking. How would you improve white's position? How can white improve? Grab more space on the queen side. Attack knights on the third, sixth rank with the rim pawns. So I think one player is suggesting h5. Currently h5 is unplayable. Right, I can take it. So Yago also suggested grabbing queenside space, maybe with a3. a3 possibly can be met by a5 though, and I think I'm holding. So the correct move here is knight e5, just jumping in. And this is taken, but I really don't like taking this knight in these positions because this structure with the pawn on e5, it gives such like killer attacking chances to white. And what's really annoying about this position is black almost always wants to play knight d5 here, but he can't. So after knight d7, This is just really bad. And already, White actually missed a really good. What about bishop takes f6, knight e4, and c5? Let's look at it. So if instead of knight e5, you go bishop takes f6, bishop takes f6, knight e4, and then c5. That's interesting. It looks like a good idea to me, to be quite frank. Maybe after knight e4, maybe here I go c5 myself. And I just give my bishop back. Although my king side looks so fragile here, for instance, and like h5, this looks really, really unpleasant. So I agree that this looks good for white. Bishop takes, knight e4. Yeah, I mean, this just looks really good. I think you have to hold on to this dark square bishop, but you're already starting to threaten h5. It's very unpleasant. Yeah, I mean, this looks like a great idea. The thing is here, white already gets massive play. So, what would you play here as white? Excuse me. Yes, this becomes a very concrete position. No more playing on your your basic principles. So I'll say the move played in the game is not best. Queen h5 is certainly an option. I think after queen h5, I would not tempt fate with h6. I would go with g6. And the queen probably has to back up. I don't think going into h6 really accomplishes anything, because I always have this move bishop f8. So I think the queen does need to retreat a little bit. Maybe all the way back to e2, and now I get my c5. But I mean, knight e4 probably has to be taken. You can't really... I don't think you can just allow me to hop on in. And I agree that white still has a good position, but white has much better. Bishop takes e7. Okay, rook takes e7, queen h5. But here, this time, you no longer have the option to get me here. So this time, I might be tempted to go with h6. Because you're no longer threatening murder on h6. And it's not so easy for this queen to get onto this diagonal. There's better in the position. There's much better. Hey guys, we always look for checks, captures, and threats. That's my hint. Checks, captures, and threats. Bishop takes h7. Now what? Queen d3. This wins for white. It wins a pawn, but it really wins more than just a pawn. Because the issue is you really can't take the queen, I don't think. Because this is just too much pressure. You must take here. You must play bishop takes here. But now your position is beyond awful. Like, your position is truly terrible. This rook will plague you for forever. And so, but if you can't take the queen, you can't just let this queen sit here. Like rook c8? That must be unplayable. Rook c8, I'll just slowly build my position, something like knight e4. And you're gonna, yeah, like already I have threats of like knight d6. So this is just, it's too much. You can't allow me to do this. Yeah, this is not what happened. I already said the game move was not best. So after knight d7, white played inaccurately here. White went with queen e4, which is a very concrete threat. Knight f8, and now queen g4. And so white has just maneuvered his queen closer to the queen side and provoked the move knight f8. I'm not so sure that's a bad thing for black. The knight on f8 is a good piece, stopping mating ideas, and black is having trouble organizing himself. So after rook a d8, here's where the fireworks start. Here's where the fireworks start. What did white do here? White's not thinking positionally. This is not a positional game anymore. This is a murder game. Nair is saying to Mamedyarov, you messed up, buddy, and it's time for you to get murdered because of it. Zagadak has said knight e4 is a thought, bishop f6 is a thought, h5 is a thought. I agree. Or bishop h6. So you guys have the right ideas. Bishop f6 chosen. Bishop h6 will be somewhat similar to the game. So mate is threatened. What is black's defense? Black really has one idea to defend against this. Because if you go g6, that's not going to work. That's going to be game over in 3 seconds. So after bishop f6, black cannot afford to go g6. So knight g6 was black's idea. And now you have to wonder as white, because this bishop is on pre all of a sudden. So white needs to have a concrete follow-up. How does white continue? Knight g6, h5. Very good. Takes, f5. Now what for white? A lot of things are starting to hang. Now what here? Double check. So we have two double checks, right? Which one? So here's the thing. G takes h7 is a mistake. And the reason it's a mistake is this pawn will actually hinder your attack after king h8. And black actually has very good control on his dark squares. He can think of this, well, not immediately, of course, because of the mate on g8. But if black can get his bishop over to the kingside dark squares, it's not so clear why white should win this position. Because it's not so clear how white is getting at the king. But after the game move, which was g takes f7, you're not going to play king f8, because that's going to hurt. So, king takes f7 is forced. Now what? Bishop takes f5, of course. Take the can opener. Now what? Queen takes f5, and you've thrown away your 7-point advantage. Queen takes f5, you have no advantage. Queen takes f5, I go king g8, there is no advantage. Yikes! How'd that happen? You must insert the move e6 check. You must. If you take immediately, you have nothing. You must insert e6 check. Yeah, there's not enough time to think, Zargatic. Who's got time for that? The reason e6 check is so annoying is the queen is controlling the g line. So after queen f5, the king is allowed to wander off into the g file. But by inserting e6 check, the king is still on the f file, but now the queen is going to join the action and force the king to stay here. So black played king f6. If you go king f8, good luck. And we'll see that this wins with similar ideas to the game, which means I'm not going to give it away. After e6 check, king f6, you can't take this, so white went queen h5. Just stepping out, threatening f7, and threatening to give black the business on f7. Also, maybe I'll take this, who knows. So black went, okay, fine. I don't want any of that. Black said, I'm not going to deal with any of this. I'll play king g7. So now the queen comes in, as advertised, king h8. And white found one more really, really nasty move to just seal the game. What is white's last move to just end the game? Rook d7. Yikes! You guys found that one really fast. I'm sort of impressed. This move is really cool. It's called a collinear move. These pieces are on the same line, but the rook sort of moves up the line, but doesn't take the other rook. And these moves can be really difficult to find, but it's really cool. And of course the point is, if you take this, I win a lot of material. So you can't. You can't take my rook. If you take with the queen, well then you took with the queen. So the queen has to move. And now what? Rook takes e7. Just take the piece. c5 was tried. We're going to sort of speed through the rest of the game. It's not as interesting. Queen f6, king g8, knight d5. That's a threat. Takes. White inserts queen f7 check. His point is, now you cannot play rook takes d5. On rook takes d5, there's e7, and I'm making a baby girl. A baby girl. You can't stop me. So cd5, rook f8, and here white chose the simplest method. Everything wins for white. You can take this pawn. You can do really whatever you want. But white just said, I'm just going to end the game on the spot with queen takes f8. And the pawns run. e7, d6, black resigns. You can't stop me from playing d7. You can't stop me. And the game is over. So yeah, a good idea. And a great game from Evgeny Nair. You can't stop me now. I'm going to do one more game because that was so much fun. So do we want to see MVL lose or do we want to see Grischuk win? MVL lost in a Najdorf, Grischuk won in a Paulsen Sicilian. My screen's a little short, I think, there. Let me... Grischuk, the Russian. Did MVL lose to Grischuk? I didn't watch. Great. Excuse me. Let's look at this Grischuk game. So this game is Alexander Grischuk versus Sergei Wróblewski, who's a GM I've never heard of, and I'm surprised I've never heard of him because he's rated 26,880. And there's not a lot of players who are like close to 2,700 that I've never heard of. So I was surprised that I've never heard of Sergei Wróblewski. He's a very strong grandmaster who I've just never heard of. As promised, we saw a Sicilian. And this is apparently called the Paulsen variation. I don't know anything about the Sicilian, so I'll take Lichess's word for it. Wróblewski is the coach of the Russian women. Didn't know that. Good to know. Bishop e2, d6. This all looks normal. Knight f6. a4, stopping black's queenside expansion with b5. I don't know. Is this a normal position, or has black already gone wrong here? Because it feels like black has sort of less space than usual in a Sicilian. It feels a little suspect to me, but maybe it's just because I'm not a Sicilian player. I don't know. I feel like black just doesn't have his normal queenside space. f4, and white really has space alongside the entire board. I guess it might become like, it feels sort of like black has a hedgehog amount of space, but black doesn't have the dynamic hedgehog play with the pieces killing white on the long diagonal. So I already don't really like black's position, but it's probably fine. Knight takes d4. I don't know. Sure. Queen takes d4. I would have played bishop takes d4 in an instant. But queen takes d4 does develop another piece. Can't be that bad. Bishop c6. So that was the idea behind trading off the knight. He wants to bring the bishop to a better post. And now b4. So white is really just eating space all over the board. Castles. b5. Bishop e8. e5. White is really bringing it to black, trying to eat up all the space on the board. And here, black plays very interestingly. It might not be best, but it's very interesting. So, black played the move here, queen c7, just sort of ignoring the threat to the knight. And his idea is, well, if you take the knight, I'm going to take back, and this knight is not so happy on c3. So this would actually be close to winning for black, which means that after e5, queen c7, white should not take this knight. It's a poisoned knight currently. So let's start off the questions. What would you play as white here? White finds a nice little idea here. By b7, I assumed you mean b6, right? Yeah, b6. This queen must maintain contact with the c3 knight. So queen c6. Now, keep it going. Bishop f3, win more time, improve your pieces. And here black goes d5. And again, the knight is still off limits. You still can't take it. So white just improves. Let's keep improving. Don't do anything crazy, just keep improving. Rook e1. Every piece is occupying a good post. Every piece is improving. Now, black finally says, okay, it's time to leave. I don't think he has to leave right now, but it is possible that there might have been some ideas with like queen c5 here. For instance, if you make a nothing move, take, queen c5. I'm not sure exactly what's going on here. Because this rook is actually a target. For instance, takes. But my rook on e1 is hanging as well. But here, I have a strong pass pawn on b6. For example, bishop c5. Takes. You probably have to go a5. But I think white is doing very well in this position. I'm going to win my exchange back over here. So this does not look attractive. Also, this bishop is very bad. So after rook a1, knight d7, sure. I have given up 2 pawns. It's true. I'm an ambitious man. Let me look at this. Maybe I just go. No, I can't do that. Maybe I just go like rook b1, right? And I still have this threat here that you have to deal with. I don't know. I think this is good for white, but I am open to the fact that I might be wrong. Yeah, I think I really think this is good for white. But what do I? Anyway, after rook a1, knight d7, again, white continued to play for the initiative. So what did white play here? Keep your initiative. Yeah, I mean, Archon, oh, black can survive, but let's look at the game, because that's too much postulation. F5. After F5, yeah, F5 is annoying. I will give you that one. I'm looking at something like rook c8, but I don't really believe in it. I will say so myself. F5 looks like a pretty good move. It wasn't played in the game, but F5 looks like a pretty good move. Rook c8. You can think about taking here. But maybe I take with the queen. No, I can't really do that. I take with the pawn. Is this so bad for me? I've opened my rook. This bishop actually has popped out on a diagonal all of a sudden. My e6 pawn is very weak, that's true. But maybe this swap on e6 has actually improved my position somewhat. So f5, it looks interesting. But I'm not sure the threat, maybe the threat really is f6. But I have this square really covered, so I don't think you can go f6. Yeah, I don't know. This feels a little premature. Why not queen takes knight instead of fe6? I was worried that that would be bad. No, that's not material. The knight on d7 is hanging. You don't win material there. As soon as I find my study. In that line, f5, rook c8 takes. If you can't take this. I mean, you can take it, but I grabbed this knight here, and you didn't actually win any material. In fact, you're losing material, I think. No, you're not losing material, but black here has to play bishop takes d7. If you try and trade queens here, I actually take this. So I don't think you want the knight. And here I can take this with the queen. Maybe not with the queen, but I'll take it with the bishop. And I think white is doing well here. This pawn all of a sudden is under fire. I think white is fine. White is doing well. But yeah, I'm just going to let you take on I'll play fe6, and that sort of improves my position, I feel like. I have ideas like bishop f7. This knight is terrible, but I'll figure it out, right? It's a valid question, though. I've seen the move mentioned. After knight d7, Grishuk went in for a really cool idea. Grishuk went knight d5. Grishuk is ready to rumble. And you must accept. And Grishuk has 2 pawns for the piece. And an enduring initiative here. So queen c5, black said, okay, we just took material off. or you just sacrifice material, I'd like to trade queens. So what should white do in this position? White has given a piece, but in exchange he has 2 pawns. And his pieces are sort of well developed, while black's pieces are cramped and don't make any sense. This rook is not playing. So what now? Queen e4, with the idea of unleashing the power of this bishop. After queen to e4, I wonder. After queen e4, I'll go queen to c3. Maybe I won't do that. After queen e4, I will go... What will I go? After queen e4, I'll go queen b4. I'll offer it again. Queen e4, queen b4. I assume you still want to keep queens off. So, but I've dodged this threat with tempo. So like queen f5, f3, d3, anywhere you go. Now I have potentially something like knight takes b6. And black is really unwinding this position. So this is not really what you want. So let's go back to this queen c5 position. Queen b4, c4. That's interesting. Let me look. But again, because I got out of here with tempo, I'll go knight b6. Your idea is to go rook b1. That's clever. And annoying. Okay, so after c4, I'm not gonna take on b6. That's just not gonna work. But I will go knight c5. That's what I'll do. There we go. That's the move. And my knight will make its way to e6, where it's very strong. And black should be okay here. Black might not be winning, but I think black will survive. Okay, let's go back. White is better here than queen e4. White is better. If you go queen f3, I'll go bishop c6. Keeping our initiative going. e6. So I found this game incredibly instructive because white just sacked a piece and then he says, queen trade? Fine. All my pieces are incredible. You want to take queens off? Go ahead. All my pieces are incredible. So here we see sort of the strength of this e6 move. Taking on e6 is not possible. Why not? What happens on fe6? Rook takes e6, of course. And no matter how you cut it, you're losing a piece. You can't go king h8, the bishop hangs. If you try and do something cute with like knight f6, I just take it. So yeah, that variation loses the piece back, and then white is just clearly winning up 2 pawns, and still with better pieces. So after bishop takes d4, knight f6 played, removing the knight from the attack. Now what for white? Now what? In that ending position, bishop f7, then you trade everything. White is winning. So yeah, knight f6. E f7 and bishop b7. Here there are issues because this piece hangs and this rook hangs. So let me figure this out. Here I think the only move is to go rook d8. This looks pretty good. This wasn't played, but it looks pretty good. Let me go back quickly. Knight f6, e f7. Maybe I take like this? This seems weird, but I think this might be how black hopes to survive this position. Because that other position looked too terrible. This I'm not so sure about. My idea was that the rook protects the bishop now. So on bishop b7, I will go rook d8. And here, I'm not so sold on white's position. Black has still up a piece. My other point was if you take the rook, I'll take with the king. Now you have 2 pieces for the rook, but you're not getting this pawn anymore. So it's a rook and 2 pawns for 2 pieces. Black should probably draw. After rook d8, couldn't you just play rook takes c7? Sorry, not in this line. It's after rook takes f7. Bishop takes b7, rook d8. No, so you can't do this because my rook guards it. That was sort of my point. That's why I took with the rook here. So I think black actually has good drawing chances in these lines. So this was not played. After knight f6, white played cool, calm, and collected. And this was another sort of teaching moment for me. White just said, you still have all the issues you had before. Bishop b3. You still have all the issues on this diagonal. Bishop b3. You still can't take. This is still disaster for you. So I'm going to play calm. I'm just going to drop back. Okay. Black played rook d8. That's very sensible. What do we do about this piece? Bishop f6. And there's 2 ideas with this move. And the first idea is, well, okay, if you take here with the G pawn, this is going to be a problem for you. Takes, and no matter what takes here, my next move is rook e7. So I get my piece back. And if you take here, I have a cute idea, which we'll actually see similar to the game. So my cute idea here is I go e7. Whoops. So a lot of rooks being forked. And black has to take it, and I get my piece back. So after bishop takes f6, black tried an alternative, which is bishop c5 check. King h1, gf6. But again, something similar, as we pointed out, e7. Takes, takes. Bishop c6. Rook c7. So the dust has settled. White is up a pawn, and he has a pretty dominant rook on the 7th. But black says, okay, you have your rook on the 7th, I'll get my rook on the 7th. Rook e1, this rook wants to go to the 7th. Rook f2. And let me ask, what would you play here as whites? Rook c6. If you go rook c6, I assume your idea is b7. This isn't queening yet, though, right? So here in this position, what does white play? You can't play too slowly here, though. So say h3. I will go. What will I do here? I think I'll go a5. I don't know about this. I'm not convinced this is exactly what you want here. Yeah, I mean, you have rook e7. I agree. But I think I'm going to hold this position together, actually. For example, I'll go here, and I'll be in time to just hold on. So this is not quite working yet. Let's go back to this position. You cannot take on c6. a5 instead of h3. It's sort of the same though. If you go a5 here, I'll do my same thing. I'll get my rook back. My rook will get home. And then I'm not sure you're winning because you sacked the exchange. In fact, here I have ideas of like this, because I'm not sure you're queening actually. Oh, well, okay. I don't have ideas of that square. But instead of rook d2, I can think about like this maybe. So this is not quite working yet. Let's be more accurate. Take on g2? The king... Oh, hold on. Oh, so Archon's asking, why isn't this played? And the reason is tactics, removal of the guard. You lose. Oh, with the bishop. So here's the thing. You won a pawn with this, but white has massive strategical threats of murdering your 7th rank. And you didn't really address that. So, for instance, like, what should black do here? I'm honestly not sure. Say the bishop goes back, this rook comes in, and that's not pretty. That's not pretty at all. So this just, you want a pawn, but that's not really what you want here. You have to deal with what white's doing. So rook f2 is just waiting, maybe preparing to make his own double, although it's probably unlikely because of this pawn being such an issue. But, you know, I'll think about it, right? So rook f2, just preparing other ideas. I'm not saying rook f2 is the greatest move in the world, though. Rook f2, king g1. Is not the strangest thing I've ever seen. King f1. Here I have a bit of a strange defense, I think, actually. And that is, after say I'll play, basically my idea is to go rook g7, which looks beyond stupid, but I don't think it is beyond stupid. However, this does look kind of lost for white. This rook doesn't give a great impression. King g1, rook takes g2, king f1. Can I do something else here? No, this looks pretty convincing. Again, this idea of rook e to e7 is so massive. I'll give the game continuation. It's similar to what we're saying. If you go rook g4 there, what line is that? I think I just do this, and you cry. I know you win this pawn, but I don't think I care. Oh, that's interesting. I missed this idea of rook e4 check. But maybe I can get out of this with king g1. King g1, rook g4, king f2. You have this check, but then you don't have a check on the e line. So I think, again, you're just running into too many problems on this square. It's a cool idea, though. I like your idea. Anyway, the game continues h3. And he's just asking black, what are you going to do? It's sort of like king g1 almost. What are you going to do? So, yeah, I mean, it's brutal. Rook takes f4 played. Rook e7, and what are you going to do? Rook f1, rook f2, and now white ended the game in style. How does white end the game on the spot? Rook c6. We've seen this before. And what now? Very good. Rook takes f7. Crushing. A crushing blow. Now, the point is, if you do this, you lose instantly. So that's unplayable. But after rook takes f7, black had one more idea. Black went, all right, I'm going to get back and I'm going to stop that pawn. So this is your last move you have to find. White to move. C3 exclam. And black resigned. Because you just can't stop the pawn? Someone said baby queen in chat. You bet, that's a baby queen. B7, B8, let's go. And the real annoying thing for black is black would love to like move his rook, but any rook move allows a discovery on the rook. For instance, well, there's also this discovery, which is very annoying. Like, let's say here, I win a rook. Very annoying. So yeah, white just wins. Anyway, that's gonna be all. I'm not gonna show the last game because it's getting late here. It's getting towards 8 o'clock, and I do have some work to prepare for tomorrow. But thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I was just putting together some random games. I got this idea when I was doing my preparation, and I found this strange game where black castled after losing a piece. And that sort of gave me the idea to look for these weird games where there's just shootouts and craziness all over the board. But thank you all for watching, and I hope you enjoyed. And hopefully I'll get some league coverage in this week. I haven't been able to do a whole lot of that because I've been insanely busy. But I will do my best to have some coverage this week. And I hope you all enjoy your weeks. And hopefully I'll see you guys later. Have a good one. Bye-bye.